All right, everybody, thank you for coming today. This is called Everyone's Welcome to the IL Party. My name is Vicki Landers. I go by she, they. I am the chairperson for the DEIA committee. I know those terrible letters at the moment, but that's who we are. This is Leland, and they are on our committee. We have a couple other committee members here today, but what we really wanted to do is to end this with a party, kind of how you can plan a party that is inclusive for everyone. So here on the screen, we have some streamers and noise makers, so that way you can get a little loud if you'd like.
Yay!
There you go. I like a loud crowd. All right, so this is our dance floor, basically. And so what we've done is we divided this into four stations. And the reason why we've done this is because each one has something to do with different ways that you feel and feeling about how you feel invited, how do you feel while you're there, are you getting all your access needs met, those kind of things, which is why we have them. And why we've asked people to get some Post-it notes so that way we can have some fun with it. So we have to change it up just a little because we are sitting in a lot of chairs instead of around tables, which is the way I usually do this. But what we're doing is we're asking folks to think about their Post-it note. If you have pen, you can write it down, but just kind of giving us, putting in some of your identities, whatever that looks like. You know, it can be disability, it can be language, it can be age, it can be marital status, gender, or your background. And what we're asking for you folks is to pick 4 of those. You can write them on your Post-it notes. You can just think about what they are. What it does is it gives us some background onto when we start putting them onto our party stage, what that kind of feels and looks like. So I'm going to give everybody just a minute to do that. You got the facilitator guide. Okay. For those strolling in, if you want to grab some Post-it notes up here as part of our party plan, you can do that. We're asking people to put one of your identities on each one of the Post-it notes.
Yep, 1 per person, so grab a whole stack. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
They're all in like little things.
I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to do that.
Now gone.
There's a rush. Woohoo!
Okay. Oh, hold on.
Here. Why don't you do this? You can let them get them, and then we can sort them. There we go. Look at that.
Yes.
Anything extra? Yes.
One color for each person. You can toss it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna do.
One color. You're going to take 4 for each person.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, take them with you. Look at that. Yep. You should 4.
Per color.
Yes. All right. So I'm glad everybody's getting their Post-it notes. Have you been figuring out what your identities are and what you want to put on your Post-it notes?
Hold on to them for now, and we'll start separating everybody soon. So write it down and hold on to it. Don't come up yet.
Yes. All right. No, I can't see that. All right, so I'm going to give everybody just another minute, and then what we're going to do is we're going to reflect on those prompts that you did, and what we're going to ask you to do is to think about on our party zone, which I will put back up, I can figure that out. There we go. Party zone. All right. So what I want you to do is, in response to this, is what I want you to think about your identity and think about how you would respond to each one of these prompts. Okay. So in the invite zone, have you ever felt left out of advocacy because of who you are? And if you feel that way about one of your identities, you can mark it with the little I, or just think about what it is. I kind of put mine on my arm in the row. And then in the venue zone, what barriers do you face accessing space, physically, digital, or social? So think about one of your identities that feels that way. And you can put more than one identity in each one of the zones. If your identity feels like all of them should be in the invite zone, put them all in the invite zone. It's how you feel about your identity and how welcome you feel when you're out at a party. When you're on the dance floor, what supports have enabled you to fully participate or lead? So we're asking, what identity makes you feel either that you're not having your needs met, or what supports that are not being met when you're there? And sometimes it's what supports aren't being met that they said would be there. And then in the DJ booth zone, think about, when have your preferences shaped how advocacy happens? And again, of course, we're planning an event, we're planning a party, we're trying to make sure everybody feels involved. And of course, this is the IL movement, so we're talking about advocacy. All right, so once you've thought about that and taken advantage of what that feels like for you, which ones you feel most disconnected from, now what we want to do is to figure out from you. We're going to ask you to raise your hand, to speak out, and let us know what zone, you don't have to tell us the identity, but what zone do you feel like you're less welcome at? So who wants to start? Everybody feels welcome everywhere?
Maybe put up the questions again.
Hold on one second. Thank you.
Dance floor.
Can you tell us why?
I don't know. It's just a little uncomfortable, especially because I'm at like everyone else's waist level.
Okay, that makes sense. Anybody else want to share? Everybody be a little quiet in here for a dance. We're supposed to be partying in here. I heard lots of noise before. Everybody's gone dead silent. I feel like the music has been turned off.
Oh, right here.
This is Steve. I would say, venue, because there's so many times that, we can get maybe in the front door, but then we can't get to the freaking dance floor.
Yes, exactly. Who's next? There we go.
Hi, this is Gloria. I would also agree with the venue zone, because sometimes accommodations aren't properly provided, and if you have hearing loss, that you can't hear.
Right, yes. Anybody else? These are all good examples of the things that we need to think about when we're planning an event that people are going to be at. Is like, how do you make sure? And that's what we're here to do today, is to make sure that everybody is welcome.
Okay, the venue, now that I have osteoporosis and walk with a cane, I have difficulty walking up a lot of stairs, and some venues have a lot of stairs and no elevator. The dance floor, I used to dance and party a lot in my childhood and young adult life, but since 1989, I can't dance that long.
Right.
And then for the DJ's booth, I became a professional DJ, so that's my company.
Awesome. I love that.
So it's in my invite zone. I've always been invited to parties because I used to be the life of the party, and I used to always organize the parties.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, so, the way that we're talking about this planning a party, or this can be kind of in everything that you do, even if it's planning a conference, if you're trying to get people together to have a conversation around advocacy, all of these things still count. A dance floor is where the conversation happens. Whether you don't have to actually be dancing, but it's the dance floor, it's where you all come together, and you want to make sure, just like this, that it's accessible, that everybody can not only get in the door, but they feel like they're a part of the conversation. So that's one of the main things that we talk about when we're planning something. In this case, a party, because I always like to put together a party. Anybody else? I can't see. With the lights.
I think it's also important to think about when you are invited to a party, right, and having the freedom and space to not necessarily get on the dance floor if you don't want to, right? So not being forced to do something that you don't want to, but still being invited to these places based on your comfort level or what you feel like you're ready to do at that moment. So that's something that I think about when it comes to independent living and advocacy. I have my own limitations. Other people have their own limitations of what they can do, but they're still very much involved, and we should be able to make everybody feel a part of it as well, no matter what level of capacity they have.
Absolutely. All right, so what we've done is we've asked you to kind of identify yourself and what are the things or spaces that you don't feel comfortable in. So what I'd like to do now is, usually this is a time where we start to have everybody put their pieces on a board that we have. But what we're going to ask you to do is to leave your Post-it notes when you leave, and we're going to actually cluster them together, and we're going to actually put it out to the entire membership what that looked like and how people are feeling and how we can fix the problems. So the next slide we're going to use here is this is kind of a breakout session. And what I'd like you to do is the folks that you are around, have these conversations around in the invite zone. Who's missing and how do we reach them? I'm sure we talk about this all the time in our SILs and our silks. Is who is missing from the conversations. In the venue zone, what blocks access and how do we reduce or remove it? Yesterday, I listened to Indigenous people and disability, and Jim, who ran the session, had a graphic, which I wish I had because it makes so much sense, but I am going to make sure that it goes out into the next newsletter, so watch out for that. So on the dance floor, what helps people participate and lead fully? Because you just don't want people to come. You actually want people to lead. We're trying to grow these young leaders, but also folks who have been around, they still have a lot to say. And we need to make sure that they're able to say, be a mentor, peer support, whatever that looks like. And then in the DJ booth is who's shaping decisions. If you look at your board or your staff, what do they look like? Who else should be there? So we want everybody to take about 10 minutes or so and to have these conversations. You can pick one zone and you can have a conversation about that one zone. You don't have to try and tackle all of them at the same time. So I'm going to give everybody about 10 minutes to do that. So just talk within yourselves and what you think that could be.
Did you want to walk around and like kind of, did you want us to walk around or
I
meet
think
on?
we can walk around, maybe just like grab the mic and like, what did you guys decide?
Oh, yeah. But maybe like in the beginning to help facilitate, like, hey, what zone are you? Okay.
I just want people.
You can. The timer's up there, so we'll hear it.
Oh, yes.
You're leading the party. No, I said he's white guy, I'm in the middle. I said you're leading the party. Yeah. People that are deaf often don't go to parties. Deaf population is really, I feel like they, yeah. Right. So if you're at the, I would say if you're at the booth, maybe you're considering what kind of artists, attract maybe the deaf population, right? Like, what's something that they're interested in and having that as an incorporation. And, yep. Yep, exactly. also thinking about the dance floor itself, like what would that look like to make it the most accessible? Like, okay, how many wheelchairs can actually fit here aside from anybody else? Or is there a couple chairs for people that need little breaks in between trying to dance? Because I have a friend that she has her good days, and then she has her days where she doesn't really is able to get up out of her chair. So if it's a good day, maybe she'll get out and she will get up for a minute or so. But that allows her give her a chance to get up for a minute or so, and then she's able to still feel like she's on the dance floor. So I don't know, thinking about the most inclusive dance floor. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to give everybody just another minute. And then what we'd like to do is Leland is going to go through and she's going to ask each little party here that's going on just to give you one insight of what you talked about. Do you have the mic? Mic? I'll ask, see if we can get a mic. And that way you can walk around each party. Would that make sense?
There's too many parties to do that.
Well, we don't have to do all of them.
Right.
Somebody can raise their hand. And
Yeah. Okay.
I was so nervous because Carrie Brown. And I was like, please don't come. I'll be terrified. All right, everybody. Thank you for taking part in this. So what we want to do is Leland is going to come around. If you raise your hand, if you want to give us an insight of something that you learned while you were having a conversation, please raise your hand and Leland will come by so you can let the everybody else know, because this is all something that we can do together. This is a learning experience that we can all do together. So somebody raise their hand.
There's 2 microphones, so we could take turns.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So we discussed the invite zone, who's missing and how do we reach them. And we thought about individuals that are not necessarily social butterflies and that have, anxiety or depression. And as someone who has anxiety, you start to think about, okay, I got invited to this event. I need to think about, people are going to look at me. What am I going to wear? And you start kind of going down this rabbit hole of, even if you're attending this event and it's, there's going to be people there, sometimes the people in your ear, you have to meet this person, you have to talk to this person. And initiating conversation sometimes is not, always what a lot of us thrive in, and it can be really crippling for us. So I think that thinking of those individuals and saying, hey, no pressure, but come as you are. Or, hey, there's gonna be a quiet space where you can kind of slip away if you need to and, not be around people if it just becomes too much for you. Also, for people with depression, just reminding them how much, we miss seeing them. We have a consumer who every time, we invite them to something, they're all on board for it, and then last minute they ghost us and they don't respond to any of our messages anymore. And all we do is just love on them and say, hey, we miss seeing you around. We miss, when you were hanging out with us and you had all this impact with us. And then for the DJ booth zone, we thought about a lot of the times when we plan a party, You know, sometimes people, the music is really, really loud, and not every place has, you know, noise canceling headphones or things like that. So whenever, you know, planning a party, you know, consider maybe having noise canceling headphones for individuals that maybe struggle with migraines or things like that.
Thank you so much for that. It's very important to think about folks who need that space, folks who don't like to engage in some of these large spaces. I have that problem also. So this is a lot for me, but thank you for letting me participate in doing this. Who's next?
So we talked mostly about the dance floor zone and how accessibility, especially technology accessibility, could go a large way with either images or captions that within emails can be described with the text-to-speech and or speech-to-text options can make a large difference in how people can actually get the messages, and then that will allow them to actually be able to respond and actually participate within group settings because they know what's going on or how to reach the environments that they might not have known about without those accessibility or technology advancements. Especially Henley talked about, especially there are apps that will generate AI captions, so then people can understand what is being described in an image, so which would help their understanding of what the email and contents are.
Thank you so much. That is super important. Who's
Hey,
next?
Vicki, this is Steve over here again.
Hello.
We talked about the venue zone, and we talked about it because the venue zone is the all-encompassing one up there. If we don't have our events in accessible venues, yep, we've even seen people in the SIL community just not invite some people because, you know, we don't want them to come and find out that it's not accessible.
Yep.
And then when we talk about the dance floor, if you get into the venue, but you know the dance floor is down in a pit or something like that, one of our peers in IL used to refer to it at this venue that we went to as bowling for dance partners, because by the time he got to the bottom of the ramp, he knew somebody was going to be on his lap that he could dance with. And you know, and then you get the DJ booth, but can we even get to the damn DJ booth? Is the DJ booth up on a pedestal that we can't make a request like anyone else? And so far too often, you know, there's so many other things we think about. It's like when you walk into that venue, is it a scent-free environment, or am I going to barf 3 minutes after I'm in there? You know, and so many times it's looking at what makes it so that we can all be there. And a lot of times it starts long before we send out the invites, but thinking about where are we going to have the party?
Yes, thank you. Who's next?
Hi, so we're a group, we're from California. And, yeah, and so we spoke pretty much about all of them, but we started with Dance Floor Zone. You know, what helps people participate and lead fully. A lot of times we know that we were speaking about representation and making sure that the representation leads and leads by example, and having a group of people of different backgrounds so that this way everybody could see that and then want to join and be comfortable to join. But then there's the accommodations and making sure that when we connect with that group, okay, what accommodations do they need to be supported? And so that this way they could feel welcomed. Because my focus was, okay, I was invited, but then am I comfortable enough to speak? Is it a safe environment where people want to hear from me? Because sometimes you could read the room where people are not comfortable or they are comfortable. And I feel like that my question was answered by the representation and the accommodations. Like if you know I like a certain food or you know I like a certain color and you did it and you could tell me I did this because of because I know that you like this, or we did this because of you, so for you instead of because for you, it'll allow me to feel comfortable. And like thinking about volunteers and bringing in volunteers, they'll come back and want to continue to volunteer and help you with advocacy stuff and all that stuff because you made them feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's next?
Hello, so our group also picked the dance floor, and we talked about the fact that it needs to be accessible, that when you're on the dance floor, that people feel safe and welcomed, and also to a degree to make people feel comfortable that you have patience and empathy. If you want somebody to, we also use the scenario of food as an example, and that realizing that not everybody has the same tastes, whether it's food or music.
Hear that.
Right? To still make them feel comfortable in that environment and engage with them and make them feel, and be patient too. So that's all right. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as some of us that know me, I have severe food allergy, so food is always something that I find we talk about food in the fact that people don't have food, don't get enough food, but we don't talk about people who have allergies or different dietary needs to make sure that they also feel a part of what's going on and that you've thought about them to invite them. Who's next?
Hi, my name is Layla Frazier. I serve as a youth on the Youth Advisory Council in Kentucky. So for the venue zone, I have a good example of what happened yesterday. Yesterday, I went to this karaoke bar, and the description said it can fit up to 10 people in the room, and it was 6 of us, and when we all got in there, we all could not fit. But the lady was nice enough to give us a bigger room, so then we all fit perfectly fine.
Oh, that's great. That's, sometimes we don't get it right, and you just have to, you ask, and hopefully people understand the need to make the change and make it right.
So, we're good. So we talked mostly about the DJ booth zone, who's shaping decisions and who else should be. And one of the things that I shared and we discussed was the fact that our board is great, and of course, we're primarily individuals with disabilities. However, what I would really like to see is more individuals without disabilities in the conversation with us about all of the other zones, actually. One, it's going to hopefully provide or create a comfort level for my board or for my advocates to not be afraid to engage others without disabilities on what those with disabilities need to be able to access the other zones. Mm-hmm. But I also think for my board, it allows us to see what you see when you're looking at us. If you have it on paper that it's accessible, in practice or in theory, really, can we get in? Can we access? Is it a comfortable space for us? Is it a great space for us to talk about what our needs are? But if I can't see it from your perspective, what you see, while you see that you wrote it, in the article, it's absolutely in your bylaws that it's accessible mentally, physically, and all that, then when we show up to present, it's really not. So I would love to see more without disabilities engaged in our conversation with our board so that we can understand what each of us sees, and then we lead with solutions that make sense for us all.
Absolutely. We need to, make sure that we're inviting those folks that don't have disabilities to engage. That's how the movement gets bigger. That's how we get stronger. And that's, to me, I always think about a voting block. Your voting block gets bigger if you invite folks in who understand and want to be a part of what's going on. And they're in this, you get to teach them about the mind frame that you want. And then they support you, and they support you in a lot of different ways. Anybody next? Sorry, but the light is so bright, I can't see much out in there. Is that it? All right. Oop, we have one more hand.
Hi, everyone. We talked about just one aspect of accessibility and the DJ booth, considering, the deaf community and having, potentially someone mentioned an ASL interpreter when the music's playing on certain songs, or having artists that are really popular maybe in that community, but just taking that population into consideration. A lot of times they can oftentimes not be considered in many of the events that we have. And I know for me, I want to be a lot more intentional in my events. And I always think about, when I'm walking in the room, what does this look like for this disability, and that disability. But that was one of the things that we mentioned in the DJ booth in regards to thinking outside of what we normally do.
Oh, thank you. It's very important that you think about to be able to engage with everyone and what that looks like. Very short story is that I am in the queer community, and one of the things that I've been working on is with one of the venues that's in the neighborhood in Philly, was to build a space that was actually built for everyone. And we implemented one of the, I'm going to get the technical term of it wrong, but it's a floor that has the vibration. So that way folks could feel, you can feel the vibration, even though you can't hear the music. It implements the vibration of the song, which was amazing. It's a little weird feeling, but you get used to it and you know that you're doing it for somebody else to be out on that dance floor with you. But there are things that you can do to make sure that everybody can party with you. All right, so what I want to do next is we talked about, oops, I forget about the big screen. So what we want to go over now is usually what we do in small groups is we hand out a piece of paper and we ask everybody to write two things. One, what can you do within the next month to implement one of these thoughts that you've had, how to engage with more folks? And then two, in a leadership role, whether you're the leader or not, because you still are a leader and you should think of yourself that way. Within the next 6 months, what can you do at your SIL or SILC that is about access, it's about right-based participation and giving everyone a voice? So I'd like to, again, go through the room, just give me one of your quick responses of what you could do in the next month at your SIL or personally that you want to do to help people be more engaged. Leland is working her way.
Hi, I'm Robin. I am one of the ambassadors of the DC SIL Center, and we have recently got promoted from facilitator, and we have to go out into the District of Columbia and recruit new consumers that are disabled in DC. So our mission is to fill our tally sheet, which is really 12 spaces, and sometimes we can turn in 2 sheets. So my mission is to continue to do that.
That's great. It's a great mission. Who's next?
This is Steve. And as an IL director, a really quick step is maybe I can steal your slides and we can do this at the cell for the whole staff in the next month.
It was actually built so everybody can actually do this in their center or in their silk. I will make sure that if you give me your information, that I will make sure that I get it to anybody who wants it. But this is a great tool to be able to use with your staff and with your consumers. I think it's a great tool to use. And I have tweaked it so that way I've done it for an organization outside of the IL movement. Not that I like to do that, but you can tweak it whatever way that you want. But this is a great guideline to having these conversations and talking about, the DEAI, even though most people don't want to talk about those things, but you can talk about it in this way, because what you want is access for everyone and full participation for everyone. Who's next?
Hi, my name's Mark. I'm a board member from Idaho for Southeast Idaho Life Center. And I think there's one topic that I haven't heard anything about in the last 4 days that I think is very important. I think there's a whole group of people we're leaving out in this discussion, and that's staff members. I haven't been to one session where that topic has come up. I think the staff members at our centers are under a lot of pressure. Number one, the current administration has said they're going to do this or that, and so staff members, I think, are in a situation where they don't know if they're going to have jobs a year from now.
Absolutely.
I think staff members are probably, for the most part, way underpaid.
Yep.
I think staff members work their butts off every day for our consumers.
Yes. Yes, they do.
But for me personally, I would just like to say thank you to any staff members that are here.
Give them a round of applause. All the staff members, thank you for everything that you do.
Hi, I am from Northern Virginia SEAL, and want to just piggyback off of the young lady who said that what we need is people with and without disabilities. And I just feel like if we would get the world ready for the baby boomers, a lot of people will fall under that, and get the youth involved.
Yes, absolutely.
What I will do in the next month, honestly, for the next whatever amount of time is keep pushing for legislation that creates an equal society where we can then say, okay, how and can we make this better and not talk about what's wrong in this country, especially this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. So we have just a few minutes left. So what I'd like to do is to, first of all, I want to introduce you, if I can get my mic. I want to introduce you to one of our other committee members who actually was the brainchild of this. So I wanted to make sure that she got a little time to say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Monique Stamps. I am with the North Carolina Statewide Independent Living Council. I'm so sorry. I was running late, not feeling too well. Had a hard time from leaving Charlotte to getting here. But I'm here, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you all for being a part of this session.
All right, and Leland, would you, she is also on our committee, so I just want to make sure that everybody gets to know who she is, where she's from, because she is from the exciting place.
Can you hear me? Oh, there you go. Sorry. My name is Leland Brady. I am the Program and Systems Change Manager at Access to Independence in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I am part of the DEAI committee, which will have a new name once it's been announced, but I am excited to be here. And thank you all so much for participating in the capacity that you felt comfortable with. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Give yourselves a round of applause. And you get just a couple minutes before our closing plenary comes out. I'm very excited about this speaker, so I hope you stick around for it.